All right, today is Sunday, November 15th. Garbage Time Sports, we're going to run down the list. We got this DraftKings, FanDuel bullshit over this guy Snyderman is deemed this thing illegal in New York. Other states have done it, Montana, Nevada. I don't think the people in Nevada care so much because if you're going there anyways, you're going there for gambling, not to bet on FanDuel or DraftKings. But as far as New York is concerned, it's 10% of at least DraftKings revenue. It's a big hit towards them. They're still going to be taking people's bets on DraftKings that already have their money on there, but they're no longer taking deposits as of right now. What's your outlooks on this, Woods?
Well, for starters, Nevada didn't make it illegal. Nevada just labeled it gambling. And when they did that, DraftKings and FanDuel hightailed it. They didn't even bother putting up a fight.
Yeah, because why do you even care? Because most people that are going there are there for the casinos.
But the problem is, the reason they didn't want to put up a fight is because they didn't want to have to go and get regulated and go through the whole hullabaloo of having to become like a legitimate thing and have to be taxed and everything like that. That said, that one piece of information is damning to this whole thing because it's going to happen. They're going to need to get regulated. And if they're not willing to do it, they're going to go the same way poker did, and it's going to be gone. So they need to smarten up. Dude, they're going to lose. They're not going to win.
They can't win. Nevada have already said it's gambling. Gambling's gambling. They said it needs to be regulated.
It's already... Fantasy sports is already deemed legal. I mean, each state is welcome to put their own regulations on it. So if it's legal in the United States now, but if your state does not support it, then it's a different story. Then you have to shut it down, obviously. But I mean, if you're one of these sites, why wouldn't you want to go through these regulations? It probably improves your product in the long run, right? It makes it more legitimate.
Absolutely. Anything you can do to make your situation more legitimate is better off. The real problem, and this is the sad reality, is the people who are wanting to ban this stuff are going to win.
Yeah.
So somebody needs to start getting paid from this that isn't getting paid right now. I mean, DraftKings and FanDuel need to realize they don't have the option like poker did. When poker got shut down in America, they can go overseas. Poker's an international thing. People in Europe, people in Australia, everybody plays poker all around the world.
It's huge over there.
DraftKings and FanDuel are based primarily on American sports. You're going to have a hard time getting people to invest money into gambling on Major League Baseball, which is damn near a dying sport in America. There's no reason why people in Australia give a shit about American baseball, let alone the other American sports. I don't really see DraftKings and FanDuel expanding to cricket and shit like that.
Fantasy NASCAR.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Jeff Gordon.
It actually might be a thing. I don't know.
Fantasy NASCAR is a thing. I don't know how it works, but I know it's
absurd.
a thing.
What do you get points for most times you
most left-handed turns.
Yeah, most left-handed turns.
most seconds in a pit? Come on.
Exactly. It's stupid. It's
but the thing why I believe it's different is because with the online poker stuff, the reason that was shut down because there's so many sites that were doing some shady stuff, you could literally change the deck of cards on these online sites to whatever you wanted to. So some of these sites, not all of them, some of these sites were having their own players go on there and they turn the cards to whatever they want, so their own players would win. So the site would be taking in more money instead of where DraftKings and FanDuel, they're always, for DraftKings for instance, they're taking a 10% cut of all the tournaments. I mean, that's been debated whether it's between 9 to 12%, but if you look on the DraftKings site, for every dollar you put in, they take 10% of it, so it's 10 cents out of every dollar, obviously. If you put your own tournament on there, and you get 10 guys in there, and they each put in $1 a piece, then the person at the end, if it's a winner take all, they're only going to get $9. So it's basically just a 10% usage fee, whereas the online poker sites, they were making the house was making all this money because they could just change the cards to whatever they wanted to.
Yeah, so there's a lot more blatant cheating that's going on. Whereas FanDuel and DraftKings is, I suppose it's not impossible to cheat, but you'd have to be in a really big position of power to cheat. You'd have to affect players' performance in the game, on the field, on game day.
It's so much more difficult, and it's almost impossible to cheat. The thing with Ethan Haskell, where he won all the money on his competitor site when he went over to FanDuel, even though he was a DraftKings employee. They tried to make a case that was considered cheating, but the whole thing with that, their point structures are different, their money situations are different, their positions are different.
So the percentages are all going to be thrown off.
Right. You can't say their argument was if you play a player with a less percentage than the rest of everyone else who plays a tournament and they end up scoring high, you have a better chance at cashing out higher.
Right.
The problem with that is the money for each player is different, and
The positions are different.
the positions
like
are
FanDuel has a
different.
kicker.
Yeah, who wants a fantasy kicker? That's why I don't even bother with
Yeah.
FanDuel. But
But yeah, I mean the problem is it is an advantage. It's borderline. I wouldn't say go so far as to say it's cheating, but you're pulling information from a pool that isn't readily available to the general public. So it's shady at best. Certainly, I don't necessarily know if it's cheating, but I guess they put a stop to it. Both leagues, both
right,
companies
yeah.
have said
I
like
mean,
it's not going to
I
happen
got an
anymore,
email
so.
from DraftKings saying that.
Yeah, their internal investigation.
Internal
I'm
investigation,
sure it
but-
was really like
So
I'm
it's
sure they
such-
really asked the hard questions too.
Roger Goodell-esque.
Yeah,
I loved it.
was whatever. But
Oh yeah,
what are
it
you
took
gonna
them
do?
all of 2 minutes to find out that it was on the up
Like,
and up.
oh yeah,
I would-
everything's legit, everything's cool. It's all rainbows. But like,
Carry on, carry on.
I don't know, the debates always. Every time I hear people talk about this stuff, they always liken this thing to poker, and
It doesn't make
poker
much sense to
and
me.
fantasy football could not be further apart
It's
from one
because
another.
they're both considered skill sports. Was it? Because poker is a skill game. Like if you go to a casino, they don't make a lot of money off like their
yeah,
poker
they
games.
make the rake.
Yeah.
They make the rake. So which is
Casinos
roughly like
don't
what,
even they don't like having poker rooms because they don't make enough money. They
Right.
they
They'd
have to
rather
use
have-
this big space for all these tables and everything. They're not creating the profit that they want to.
They'd much rather have you play in tournaments and stuff because they take a bigger chunk from tournaments than they do from cash games.
Yeah.
But they got to give the players a reason to play it. So you're gonna get people in your door by having poker. If you don't have poker, people ain't coming to your casino. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. But the difference is poker. I agree is a skill game. I don't believe DraftKings and fantasy is a skill game at all.
It is to a point. Because you have to have knowledge of the players and like the
Right.
situations and
I mean,
the
if
matchup.
somebody who's never doesn't know anything about football, has never seen a football game, chances are they're probably not going to beat someone who's into the sport and watches it every week. That being said, like say I pick Tom Brady, you pick Peyton Manning, Tom Brady snaps his knee on the first play. Does that mean that you're more skilled than me because my guy got hurt? No, I just ran into bad luck and you won because of that.
But, yeah, but even within skill games, luck is involved in both online poker and the daily fantasy sports. But
I mean, the thing with poker, the thing that makes it different to me is like if you and I are playing poker, like every single decision, every chip bet is all based on what I do. Do you know what I mean? Like, but in fantasy, like I'm picking all my players. I'm picking Brady, ODB. I'm picking Des Bryant, all these guys. So I don't have any direct effect on the result.
see, but you can make the argument that people play by the percentages too, because online poker, or regular poker, for example, if you look at your cards, you see what's on the table, you're playing percentages of what's the chances like I actually have the highest hand right now, or what's the percentages I might catch this card on the river,
Right.
or
But it's
same
still,
thing with football or baseball, whatever the sport be. The percentages of say someone like Tom Brady going against the Giants, his percentages of having a good week going against a weak secondary is higher than someone, say, some shit bum like Johnny Manziel comes in a game. He's probably not going to score well, regardless of the defense.
Right. But the problem is, like, playing poker, every decision is still left up to you. Whether or not, you could say, like, yeah, fine, I only have a 10% chance to win, but whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's the decision, like, you could say, like, yeah, I probably have nothing, but I think the other guy has shit too. Or, like, I've already invested so much of my money into this pot, I'm, at this point, pot committed. How many times have you seen that?
A good poker player normally wins at poker or, takes a profit. But you can have some complete shit bum just randomly pick teams, as females do. They pick who's the cutest football player on the team.
Who's got the
They
better
stop
colors
that
in the
person,
uniform.
and like they could just dominate you, and you get so pissed off that your fantasy team that you put all this time into research, and somebody just came up and just hit X and B, just uppercutted the shit out of you that doesn't know how to play the game.
But that happens in poker too. You have people that are on there just going all in on everything, and they just end up getting hot for half an hour, and then they can just sit out for the rest of the tournament.
Right,
and
but
they're
you
top
as
10.
a skilled poker player know that person is just pushing everything.
Right, but if you don't
stuff.
catch it at first, and like you have a good hand, you got pocket aces, and
Right.
you think you got top pair, and they're just pushing this all in, and they catch a straight flush on the river
Yeah,
because
like
they're just
4-6.
betting everything.
Right.
It happens. It happens on
does.
both sports. There's luck involved.
Yeah, I mean, and
It's luck involved for both of them, but I think you need to be more of a skilled player in poker to be more successful than a fantasy football team.
the argument is always flawed because there is a degree of luck in poker. That's why you don't see all these quote-unquote pro poker players winning all these tournaments. Like the World Series is won by some random shit bum
Every
who was
year.
like picking up trash 2 weeks ago every single year. You know what I mean? Like if
that
poker
also
was,
deals with the volume of
right,
players
yeah,
involved.
Yeah,
as
I mean,
well.
you're all these pro players have to go through fields of like I don't know, like 45,000 people,
Right,
or
like,
like,
luck-
stupid case may be. You know what I mean? To get to the end of these things, but like most of those pro poker players don't play tournaments to support themselves. They play cash games where they can
Right.
sit there and win maybe like 1 or 2 hands every 3 hours, and you know what I mean.
They
They
play
may not
tournaments for
play
bragging
hands.
rights.
Yeah, exactly. And to get people need to see it's to make it a spectator sport. You need to see like Phil Hellmuth playing a tournament, so you can
Right,
hit.
because these tournaments, like the World Series of Poker, the pool of people that play this thing is absurd. So your chances, your percentages are so small winning this thing, even if you are considered the best poker
Right.
player in the world, because it's also a luck sport as well, and your chances go down that much more the more pool of people there is, because
Right.
you have that many people that you have to get past luck wise as well. Like there's so many people that you can beat straight up, and then you're gonna run into someone who's just getting lucky at some point.
Right. Some idiot was like, yeah, 7-5 is my hand.
Yeah.
I play 7-5 all
All
the
the time, all in.
And you're like, dude,
And they
you
just
sure?
made us-
Like,
That's the thing, is you know when to go all in. This guy's on a hot streak, so you're just gonna fold him and wait for the next round. You know, it depends on what kind of sunglasses the guy's wearing, not what attribute points it gives you. You know,
That's what I do when I'm playing poker. I look at the person who has the worst T-shirt on in the room, and I'm like, that's my bitch.
yeah. Or the guy with the stupid little thing, like, yeah, this is my like statue of Buddha that I bought in the gift shop, but he's my good luck charm.
Yeah, see, that could work against you too. Be like, oh, I want to knock this guy out. He's
Right.
a tool, and then you just like push all in on him with a pocket twos. Like he's got nothing.
So, like, yeah, he's like, I
got
got my
4
two.
kings.
Yeah, he's like my 2 blue skips, bro. What's up? Say something.
But see, the problem with the daily fantasy sports thing, though, you have arguments on both sides, whether there's skill or whether it's just luck involved. But it seems like it's only recently where people want to jump on this bandwagon of like deeming it illegal, because
they suck.
Well, fantasy sports has risen so much in popularity over the last year, but these sites have been around for years, and no one ever complained about them before. It's because they're raking in all this money, and no one else is getting their share. They're not getting their cut, is why everyone wants to complain. I think this guy Snyderman in New York honestly just jumped on this just to get his name out there. He basically wants to jump on there and get some popularity for himself.
I mean, the guy's the attorney general in New York.
right?
He's got.
I don't think he's got enough. I think he's
yeah.
got enough popularity.
People must know who he is. He must have won some sort of election or whatever.
Yeah,
to get
obviously,
there,
but you don't think something like this, like
Yeah.
getting
Maybe-
his name out there once re-election comes
Yeah.
around, like
Maybe the
people
guy
gotta
has-
remember
I
his
don't know,
name.
maybe, maybe the guy has like Stafford on his team and he shit the bed and he's just gonna like take
Which
it
is
down.
a huge. That was my first thought when I saw.
Do you
Like this
think
guy's
so?
probably
That would
taking
be-
a beating every week in fantasy, and it was like
That would be
nobody
unbelievable.
gets to play anymore. Like I guarantee you, this guy's he's taking a bath.
taking his ball and he's going home. You know,
He lost like the mortgage.
You can just see him at home, and he's like at the 1 o'clock games, half hour, and he's like first place in the $1 million. He's like, honey, I got 60 points. There's only been half an hour in the game. This is phenomenal. He ends up with like 85 points total, and he's just pissed. He's like, I'm done with this, making it illegal.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, in all actuality, though, it's a big deal that New York was the first state to do this, because New York represents such a big part of their consumer base. It's the most populous state in the country, so the people who want to make this stuff illegal, they dealt a really big blow by making New York the first domino to fall. I'm blown away that it was New York. I thought it would have been like
I was
Alabama
shocked.
or some like really like
Well,
low populated place.
Didn't Montana do it as well?
Yeah, I know. I think Montana. I want to
they
say
followed
yeah.
suit though. I don't.
There's
think-
some other states that have done it too, but like I
Oh,
said,
yeah,
none of those
yeah,
states mean
Montana.
anything.
You got like
Yeah.
half the population
Right.
out there is cows.
Like Wyoming and like Idaho and who
Go
cares?
find
But
some gold or
the
something.
minute
Now, if you're in Montana, by the way, who do you root for as a professional sports team?
you get to vote for whoever you want because there's no team in there that's no team
Would
in
you
Montana.
take like
so.
Minnesota or
I mean,
Green
you
Bay or
probably
something?
those are probably the closest to you, so you can bet for them. But I mean, if you're in a state that doesn't have a home team in sports, you got
Probably
free
just,
reign.
you probably just follow the local college team too.
I suppose North Dakota State,
I know,
Big D2
was it
football.
Montana Cowboys? They
Yeah.
like subdivision.
the Montana Grizzlies.
Yeah. So as far as the daily fantasy sports stuff, I mean, I think it's just a bunch to do about nothing. I think it's just basically big companies just want their cut. Like lotteries in different states will end up getting in on this and getting their share.
The
I mean-
problem is, like, people, like, the guys who own DraftKings and FanDuel, like, they're suing. They want to get this thing reverted back the other way. It looks like they're willing to put up a big fight. Somebody needs to get their ear and be like, "God, you're gonna lose. Do you want to go back to doing a 9 to 5? Do you not like making like $12-13 million a year? Just shut up and
Now
like,
here's an interesting question. Do the people who started, say, FanDuel and DraftKings and other daily sports sites, the lesser known ones, was this basically their end game? Did they want it to get to this point where they could just be like, hey, let's make all our money and then we're going to sell off big. Are they at the point now where states are making this illegal and now they can say, all right, here's the point where we'll sell this off to like a big corporation like Yahoo who can fight this thing, who
Right.
already has their own stuff, but like you can sell all your rights over to Yahoo.
And make them take up the fight.
Make
and
them
you
take up the
just-
fight and you
can
just
just
sit
be like,
back
yeah.
and you're just like swimming in money.
You just be like Tom from MySpace and just like, yeah, I haven't worked in 8 years.
Yeah,
my
but you wanna
company
be
went
my-
barefoot,
Want to
but
be my friend?
yeah. But you know what I mean? Like the guy's like, he's still a billionaire, and like who's used MySpace? Like nobody in the last like decade. But I mean, yeah, that could be a thing to do. If it was
That
me,
could
that's
be
what
a
I would
fun-
do.
Yeah, but I mean, now you gotta.
Although, to be
would
fair-
Yahoo pick it up? No,
How do you-
such
how
a
do
big
100%
thing.
they
You
would.
You think so?
How do you know this wasn't the end game in the first place though? Like let's make a ton of money and then we're gonna sell it off for like 20 times what it's worth because people are gonna pay for it because they know in the future it's
So anybody,
Oh, I mean, that's our game.
profit up to Yahoo.
Yeah, a company like Yahoo's got enough money to be able to put up the fight that needs to be put up. Yeah, if I was Yahoo, I'd do it in a heartbeat. If I was Google, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Oh, Google, yeah,
Even
absolutely.
if
You know
you're,
what I mean?
if you're not
I think
already
it's
in the DFS game right
Yeah.
now and you're a big corporation, why would you not want to jump all over
I think
this?
somebody that's a competitor of Yahoo should
Yeah.
be jumping
You
all
can
over
even-
this.
you
I'd
can-
be
you can
knocking
hire-
on their door.
You can hire the creators of this thing
Yeah.
just to run it for you
Yeah.
for
Right.
the first year and then you just hire your own people after that.
Yeah.
And
You know,
it's
there's
all
some guy.
profit.
There's some guy out there who was like approached at the infancy of this daily fantasy stuff as like a possible investor, and he's like, "No, this is never gonna work out. Let me get out of this." And then like now that guy's like, "I'd love to get back in on
Good
this."
call,
Like,
guy. That's like the fifth
Yeah.
Beatles. How many Beatles were there? 4 or 5? Who cares? It was the other Beatle.
Yeah.
The guy who like quit the band
He's like,
before.
"Yeah,
he-
you guys aren't going anywhere. I'm gonna go play in my garage." Like, okay, great.
All right, that's going to bring us into the college football playoffs. Love the format of the 4 teams this year. I honestly, they started this last year. I thought they should expand it to either 8 to 16 teams. And seeing as how popular this has got, I think it eventually will get to there. But as far as right now, the 4 teams in the playoffs right now are Clemson, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and who's the 4th team? Alabama.
Bama, yeah.
Is Bama number 1?
No, Clemson's number 1.
Oh, right,
Clemson's 1, I believe. Bama was 2, Ohio State 3, and Notre Dame 4. Last I checked.
4.
It might have changed since then. I know.
And you got Iowa sitting right there on the bubble.
Baylor was sitting there, and I'm so glad they lost yesterday, because if I had to listen to somebody tell me a team who doesn't have a victory over a team that's 500 or better that deserves to be among the 4 teams vying for the championship, I would have lost my mind. Baylor has played like the GBL. They have played like the worst schedule of any undefeated team I've ever seen in my life, and I'm talking about like Boise State and Utah when they used to play like all those schools.
That's what I was just going to bring up. That was the problem with Boise State for all those years, where they were just undefeated all
Yeah.
the time. They played no one.
Right, and like the general consensus was that, like, yeah, you guys don't deserve to be in there over a one-loss like Florida or Tennessee or Georgia or Bama, because like Georgia and all those teams are playing SEC teams every single week. You're playing like Idaho. Like, who cares who you beat? Nobody cares who you beat. Iowa has a legitimate claim though, because Iowa actually has 2 good road wins. They won at Wisconsin. They won at Northwestern. Both of those teams are still ranked. Those are good wins. Iowa also has a cruise to the Big Ten championship game. They just beat, I believe it's Minnesota. They get Purdue and somebody else, but they get nobody good left. As long as they take care of business, they're going to play either Michigan, Michigan State, or Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. If they win that game, impossible to leave them out.
Yeah.
But right now, Notre Dame does. They're going to be in. People just need to stop complaining about it, because
See-
Notre Dame's going to be in because of the Notre Dame hype train. You cannot derail the hype train. You can't. It doesn't matter what you do. As long as Notre Dame doesn't lose again, they're going to be in. It doesn't matter.
See, I always like to see a new opponent in any championship game each year, unless it's like obviously your home team. You obviously want to see your home team in the championship game every year. But like as far as like college football, I always want to see like new teams there. I don't want to see teams that have been there the last couple of years or 3 years ago.
Bama.
I don't want to
Wouldn't
see
you rather
Bama.
see the best teams in though?
I
Nobody
do,
wants to see
I
Florida
do. But at the same
University,
point,
yeah.
like if you have 2 teams that are ranked 2 and 3, I'd rather see the team if they're 3, if they're almost as good. If it's a team that hasn't played in the last few years, I'd rather see them in there just because it's more interesting to me. That's why I don't want to see Notre Dame or Alabama's just forever in a championship game unless they get knocked out in the last week like they have last couple of years. But I would love to see Iowa play in this thing.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of expanding it, but if you expand it, you lose a lot of controversy. It becomes less of a talking point. Because if the thing was expanded to 6 teams, last week it would have included Baylor and Iowa, and you would have had less of a controversy. But I don't want to expand it because you said 16 teams. That might be one of the most ridiculous things I've ever
16
heard.
teams, it's much because obviously the 16, you're going to have the 1 versus the 16 seed, and they probably don't stand much of a chance. But if you
Honestly,
if you keep it,
even
you
if
keep it
they
to
do,
8,
even if they do, right now, like I don't even know who's 16, but let's say it's a team like Florida State, right? If Florida State was to play like I don't know Bama and win by like a close game or whatever, like do you still think Florida State's better than Bama?
no, but that's what the playoffs are for. Like the Super Bowl champion every year isn't the best team in the league. That's what the playoffs are for.
Yeah, but you can't
put it-
have
you
that
start
many
putting it
teams
into a
in the
bracket.
playoffs.
You gotta give teams fair chance too. Like a team that's sitting out there that might only have 1 win because they play in a lesser conference. I mean, sorry, 1 loss that plays in a lesser conference doesn't deserve to have a shot against one of the higher ranked teams just because they weren't on their
So
schedule.
do you think Memphis should get in? Memphis,
Oh, but
Memphis was the talk of the town until they got whacked.
They
Well,
dropped 8 spots, I think it was.
Yeah,
Well,
they
that's-
got whacked by Navy.
Yeah.
That's different though. Memphis isn't a powerhouse team. They play no one. At least if you have a team that's an actual decent team that deserves a shot. Like if you're a top 8 team in the league at the end of the year, we're not talking about teams in the middle of the season. Like at the end of the year, if you're considered a top 8 team, I think you should move the format to 8 teams because it's
So-
just 1 extra week.
So here's the problem, right? So what happens in a case like that where like a team like Memphis, right? Memphis or like Temple, I know Temple lost, so that's not a good example, but like all these mid-major teams that don't really play anybody. They just
Houston.
Houston, they just keep winning and winning and winning. At the end of the year, what do you know? They're like 11-1 or 12-2 or something like that. And Bama loses a couple of late games. They lose to like Florida and LSU. Like they're losing to teams that are like championship quality teams.
Right, but that's
Do you
also
really think
that's
Memphis
also
should be there with 1 loss over Bama? Who Bama's 2 losses are to like legitimate
well,
teams?
that's not for me to say. That's for the committee to pick. And obviously, if you're losing to a top 10 team, it's not going to hurt you as much as if you lose to Memphis.
Right. But and I'm just saying, like I don't even care if Memphis goes undefeated. I would rather see Bama with 3 losses
Okay, well,
than undefeated Memphis.
if Alabama's 3 losses are to say to Notre Dame, Iowa, and Baylor's just going into this week,
Yeah.
say you could have a 3-loss team, but if you lose, your only 3 losses are to say top 5 ranked teams, and you have like Memphis,
Yeah.
and they have only 1 loss, but they lose to Navy.
Yeah.
Then obviously the 3 losses aren't going to hurt you as much as 1 loss would to Navy.
Yeah.
And
I'll be
they're
honest with you. I don't
they're
even
going to
care.
consider that in the
Yeah.
when they're picking these teams for the top 8.
I don't even care if Bama lost to 3 Division II teams, badly, at home, and Memphis went undefeated. I'd still rather see Bama with 3
You might
losses.
rather see it, but you have giving a team like Memphis a chance if they were to run the table and just go undefeated. It's better for the sport in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose.
And
but
if
the problem
it
is,
really
it's just-
if it really hurts it that bad, they can change divisions around like they have been the last few years, anyways.
what's eventually going to happen is this college. I know what's going to happen. It's going to be great. This college football playoff thing, right? Everyone seems to think is the best way. Like, there's no perfect way to decide a champion. Everybody's always going to have a case. To me, that's what makes college football great. There's always a controversy. Doesn't matter what champion you get. Like a few years ago when LSU beat Bama in the regular season, and then they met in the championship game and Bama won.
Yeah, I hate that.
I
hate
think that's great. I love controversy. It's what drives college football. But you're never going to get a perfect way to do it because every team can't play every team.
You should
So-
try to avoid it if at all possible.
If at
that's
all
the case.
possible, but I mean, if those 2 teams are the best teams at the end of the year, then those are the
Then
best
so
teams.
be it. Yeah,
Exactly.
obviously. But I just hate seeing a team playing during the regular season, then play each other again at the end of the season in college football. Now, if it's professional football, that's a little bit different.
I don't understand what the difference is. If those are the 2 best teams, those are the 2 best teams. What
Because
difference does it make?
you're picking from a pool of 32 teams to a pool of, I believe it's close to 120 teams.
Yeah, but I mean, of those 120, how many of them are relevant? How many of those
How
do you
many of them
actually
are
think?
gonna
20.
give you a good game?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in essence, you're really picking out of a pool of 20.
Right, but you
Dude,
could have
said
you could have
32 in the NFL. How many NFL teams are relevant? 6?
12 probably, but
12. Give
Wow,
me
name them. Name 'em.
12 relevant teams.
well, yeah. You don't think there's 12 relevant?
I do
you don't,
not think
you don't
there
think
are
the 12 playoff teams are relevant?
I
at
do
the end of
not.
the year?
No,
Absolutely not.
no, I don't even believe
Come on.
that. I don't even
Okay,
believe
you explain to me how I'm supposed to believe that relevant team is going to come out of the AFC South.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here's
Who's going to
my-
win that division?
My point though, let's look at the NFC East in 2007.
Okay.
Okay, the New York Giants were probably considered not a great team. They got in with a 9-7 record
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
and ran the table, won the Super Bowl.
Right.
And then in 2011, the Giants again
Yeah.
record 9-7. I think they had to beat the Cowboys the last week of the season to make the playoffs. Which, by the way, great choke job by the Cowboys. They do it all the time.
They do what they do.
It seems like they lose to the Giants every last week of the season. It seems like they always play in the last week of the season and lose and miss the playoffs because of it. But anyways, in 2011, the Giants obviously, I believe it was the same record, 9-7. No one really believed them. Their defense wasn't even as good as it was in 2007, and they ran the table again. And they were probably not considered relevant, but they were a top 12 team, so they became relevant. Like if you're good enough to make the playoffs, you're a relevant team.
I don't think so.
Uh,
I don't think so.
Okay.
Dude, when teams are hosting playoff games with sub 500 records, there's a problem.
Are the
Carolina did
Giants
it a few years
relevant
ago.
now?
They're
I guess
relevant now.
We'll see today.
They're relevant.
We'll see today if they're relevant. I mean, they waxed they got beat by New
Just
Orleans.
give me, just off topic, give me your 5 top powerhouse NFL teams right now.
It's interesting.
Top 5 NFL
Yeah.
teams.
5.
Patriots. I gotta go with the
The
three undefeated
undefeateds,
teams.
right? Patriots, Bengals,
Patriots,
and
Bengals,
Panthers.
Panthers.
Carolina. I would still probably. You gotta put Denver in there, and
Mr. I shit on Denver every
Yeah.
week. All right.
you guys think I hate on Denver so bad.
Dude,
It's not that.
Go for Ari.
And
Go
they,
for
you know what? They might lose to Kansas City.
Go to 5. Go to 5.
And, as you know, as much as I want to say Green Bay, I don't think they'd make my top 5. As bad as Seattle's looked, I think I'd put them at 5.
You're insane.
We'll
You
see at
are
the end of the year.
absolutely nuts, dude.
We'll see. What they have 500 record right now.
Possibly, I'm not even sure.
You
I
can't
wrote
count
them
on-
off a long time
listen,
ago.
you can't count on a defense like that. Like I could obviously just throw Arizona in that conversation, but honestly, they haven't looked all that great the last
As
couple
long
weeks.
as long as Carson Palmer's knee holds up, Arizona should win that division.
I love Arizona's team, but even if Arizona wins that division, Seattle will probably still steal a playoff spot. And if you tell me,
so? All
you're telling
right.
me if they're the 12th ranked team out of the 12 teams in the playoffs that they're not relevant?
Only because they've been to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row, but they have a history of success behind them.
The
but
only
honestly,
reason they're not just destroying teams right now is because they have no offensive line. That's the only reason.
they did have an offensive line. They traded away a Pro Bowl center in the middle of his prime
Well,
for a tight end they refused to throw the ball to.
Which is just stupid.
Fine.
I agree. I totally agree with you. That's the most absurd thing.
Somebody needs to get fired. I mean, I suppose firing Pete Carroll's a little bit drastic because he just got you to 2 Super Bowls and won one of them. Somebody needs to lose their job. You're paying Jimmy Graham all that money, wide receiver money, by the way.
I don't
and
even
you
know-
won't throw him the goddamn ball.
Listen, I don't even know why they got rid of Giacomini a couple years ago. They came out a couple years back when Marshawn Lynch started running behind this kid, right? And all Marshawn Lynch said, I run behind this kid all the time. He creates holes, and that's when Marshawn Lynch was running over everyone. Now, they made it to the Super Bowl without him last year, but I mean, if your star running back who's just destroying dudes is like praising this guy, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, let's ship him off to the Jets.
I think it's a good plan.
Yeah,
I mean, what difference
sounds
does it
good.
make? I'm telling you, dude, the Seahawks.
You don't want to keep your players happy.
Yeah. I don't care about the Seahawks. They're on their way to being irrelevant. I guess they're still relevant because they, like I said, 2 Super Bowls. They as bad as it is, they still have a chance to win that division. I suppose maybe, and I guess they can make the playoffs because football in general is so bad. But I don't believe the 12 teams have a chance to win the Super Bowl. I believe there are. I don't even know if there's 3 maybe 3. I think there's 3 teams that I think will have a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl this year. That's the Patriots, Denver, and Green Bay. Other than that, I don't have faith in anybody. I don't even care. Cincinnati, get away from me.
Yeah.
Get away. Win a primetime game, win a playoff game, and then maybe I'll take you seriously. Cincy's a one-and-done team. I guarantee you whoever walks into Cincy's taking them out in the first round of the... Well, not the first round, but Cincy's first game. Cincy actually might end up with a bye. Carolina...
I wouldn't see them. I wouldn't rule out them not winning their first round game either. This might be the year they actually win in the first round.
Yeah, I think we've been saying that for the last, forever.
Yeah.
I don't believe in Marvin Lewis. I can't.
They're too toxic to if you're in some kind of pool for when the playoffs come around and you pick Cincinnati. I think you're on drugs. I think they're just a toxic team to touch in that position.
They need to win something until... you know what they are? They're like the Washington Nationals.
Oh, they
They
look
need to
great
win
on paper,
yeah,
and then
exactly.
you pick
Paper
them, and you know they're
champions,
just
dude.
gonna fall
Paper
apart.
champions.
Well, as far as Denver goes, which I know you guys think I hate Denver. It's quite the opposite. I love Denver's team. But they have some injuries and some suspensions for
Akeem
poking
Talib's
guys
out
and
of
We
such.
can rewind back to last week.
And Emmanuel Sanders also is a little banged up. So they're playing against a divisional opponent this week. who, like I said, whenever you have a divisional opponent, it's always a tougher matchup. Like I said last week with Denver, I was telling you guys it was going to be close with Indianapolis. But as far as
That wasn't a divisional matchup.
excuse me.
That wasn't a divisional matchup.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, my point last week was
That
they were playing. He was playing his old
right.
team. You know, same thing. They but as far as Denver's concerned, Peyton Manning this week. Peyton Manning this week is
He's gonna get that right.
he's 3 yards short of the all-time passing record, and like he's gonna get it on his first pass. And I guess they're already talking. John Elway has already talked to the league, and they've confirmed that they will stop the game once this happens. Basically, to have their little NFL celebration. These are the same guys who were like doing a witch hunt on Tom Brady for.
I hope that game is in Denver. It's in Denver, right? It's got to be, because
don't know.
if you're going to request to have the game stopped and celebrate your quarterback in the other team's building,
Well, do you think they would have done it in that Indianapolis game at the end of the game?
I think they would have, just because that's the place that Peyton built.
You
He made that
should
team
have,
relevant.
and I'm so upset that he didn't get those 3 yards, because if he did that in a losing effort, it would
It would just be typical Peyton Manning.
it would have made my millennium.
It
But
would have, yeah.
it would have been cool actually for him to. It would have been cool for him to actually like do that in Indianapolis, but at the same time, would have been so much better that he did it in a losing
in
effort.
a losing effort. I mean, he probably still could. I mean, they still have to play the game, so I think we're all in agreement he's definitely going to get it today,
Yeah.
and they could still lose that game.
Yeah,
Do
it's
you
possible.
think? Do you think he gets pulled out because he is banged up? Do you think he gets pulled out after he gets
I don't think
his?
you can.
Peyton
You got
Manning?
you got to let him stay. I mean, you need to win the game. You got to win the game. You can't pull him after.
Peyton
that.
Manning's banged up?
Yeah, he's been banged
Foot,
up.
I think.
Yeah, his
I
foot.
I mean,
Yeah,
his foot, his
he's got,
back,
like,
his neck.
three
He's,
things,
This is
His
probably his
everything's
last
hurt.
year. He's not coming out of the game if he
Yeah.
has like broken everything.
By the way, like, is it like if you're if you're the Broncos, you got to call a pass on your first play, right? You can't with Peyton needing 3 yards. You cannot come out and run the ball first play, right?
I would love to see them go run.
I'm going past
You
every
gotta
time
throw the
until he
ball.
gets his record.
No, if you're the coach, that everyone's probably like, oh, he's gonna throw the ball here. I would run like the first 12 plays of the game. Don't even throw the ball until like your second series of the game.
I don't know.
I would
like,
love that.
It just everyone's problem is like Peyton Manning like chokes in big moments. Like you have to give him like this moment and just force it. Like everybody in the world knows you're throwing the ball.
They should try to get it over with early, just to get the game going. Honestly, it should be first pass and just like throw like a 5 yard out, stop the game
Pick
within the
six.
first 10 seconds.
Now here's what you do: the very
Pick six,
first
you
play
go.
of the game, you go play action and throw it deep. I hope he throws an 85-yard touchdown on his first play. That would be fantastic.
That would be great. I mean, whatever. And if he wins this week too, he'll be. I think he's tied for most wins right now, right?
Is he? I'm not sure.
Whatever. Regardless, I believe with a win today, he will be the all-time winningest quarterback as well.
I didn't really watch that game last Sunday, the Denver Indy game. Did he have a chance to break the record and just like didn't make it happen, or did the game just not roll? Because 3 yards, you got to think he had a chance somewhere, right?
They were going to punt the ball back, I believe it was. Or was it? It was the field goal, and they jumped off sides, so they got the ball back and they could just kneel it down. So they were going to kick the field goal and then kick the ball back to Denver, and he would have had a shot to throw a pass. But the moronic defensive special teams unit just jumps off sides on a field goal. Like those points don't matter whatsoever in that game at
So
that
you-
point,
you-
and
you-
they're trying to block it.
You ready for conspiracy theory?
What's that?
Do you think Denver jumped off sides to let Indy keep the ball and kill the clock?
There's no possibility.
that Peyton
no way.
wouldn't-
You wouldn't do that with a shot to get the ball back and win. No, absolutely not. Absolutely.
I mean, when it comes
it's
to
interesting to
conspiracy
think about.
theories,
It's interesting to
I'm
think
all
about.
about conspiracy theories. I wouldn't put it past John Elway.
I would love if that's the case. I severely do not think that
I think
had
it's
any
legit.
play in it.
I definitely think it's legit because you want if that especially if that game is in Denver this week. Have we looked that up yet? If that game's in Denver, then I would fully believe John Elway was like, hey, find a way to not let Peyton get the ball so we don't have to say he choked.
I don't think.
And he can do it in front of the home crowd, and we can have the NFL give us a big hoopity hoopla.
I don't think it matters either way because he's like the NFL's darling, so it doesn't matter who's building there, and they're gonna give him like the old little hahoo. You know, yeah,
How?
they're gonna give him the reach around, and be like, hey, thanks, buddy.
Hey, how's your sister there?
But the Major League Baseball,
It is at Denver.
it is at Denver.
It is at Denver. That's 100%
It's
what
beautiful.
happened.
It's
I fully believe that that's what happened. That Peyton, they let Indy have the ball because they're like, look, this win isn't really important. We need
There's
Peyton
no
to
way.
do this shit at home.
There's no way.
It's not. It's. I don't know.
Oh, come on. That's a reach. It would be
That-
beautiful if
right.
that's what happened, but it's
Isn't
a
that
reach.
totally
It's-
a Peyton Manning thing?
Oh,
Like,
it's there's no more Peyton-esque thing I've ever heard of, but it's there's no way.
that's my word. That's absolutely
But,
what I'm going with.
On to baseball. They have the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame voting came out this week. Can we get a list of these guys to hear some of the absurdities on this list and why they're even on there in the first place?
I think you're underselling it. There's some legitimate all-stars on here. There's some superstars.
Yeah, maybe
some
like,
of the guys that made my childhood are on this list.
yeah, like
Then what about the other ones?
The other, I mean,
like Nomar Garciaparra should be on there, right?
he is on there. Noma's on there.
Yeah, this is my point exactly.
Yeah.
Nomar, if he retired after his first 5 years, might have a case.
He might have a better case than he does right now.
Absolutely.
All right, so why don't we do
Let's
this?
get this
So,
list.
Like, I'm going to go down the list. I'm going to ask both of you guys for your vote. I think the first one's
Oh.
probably unanimous. Garrett Anderson.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, I think he was in a home run derby. I think that was the highlight of his career. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we're going to go with a big no on the Garrett Anderson. Brad Osmus.
No.
Might be a better coach than he ever was a player.
Yeah.
No,
No
actually,
chance.
back on Anderson, he won a home run derby, didn't he?
Maybe. I wouldn't be
Who
surprised,
cares?
but
Who
I mean,
cares?
who gives a shit?
He's definitely not Hall
Home
of
run
Fame.
derbies for a while were like the dunk contest. Like, nobody gave a shit about them. Jeff Bagwell, holdover from a previous
I say
year.
yes.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, he deserved.
Bagwell should be in there.
If Biggio gets
if Biggio
in,
gets in, Bagwell should
get
be
it.
in. Bagwell is one of those guys that always gets talked about as being a roid guy, but he's never on any list that I'm
No.
aware of. So
Same thing with Biggio.
and dude, there's got to be some sort of behind-the-scenes bias about him being on roids. Next one, huge. One of the two big names that everyone keeps talking about, Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds absolutely should make it. He probably won't make it this year or anytime soon, but by the last year he's on the ballot. I think they eventually put him in. Barry Bonds is one of the best players of our generation, if not the best.
Barry Bonds.
I'm gonna go with Scott. I mean,
Yeah.
he's eventually gonna get in there. I don't think it's gonna be this year.
Once you get younger Hall of Fame voters in there, I think the voting is going to change on that.
Yeah, there's still. I mean, the Hall of Fame voting in general is just bad. But we'll get to that later. So after Barry Bonds, we have Luis Castillo. For those of you
Next.
who don't know, he used to play second base for the Marlins, I believe, and then he probably hung around for a little bit after that. So,
Luis Castillo, he's on the Diamondbacks when they beat the Yankees. in
oh,
the World
fantastic, Luis Castillo. So that's a no on Luis
Series. Absolutely
Castillo.
no. He had one.
a big no on
He
Luis
had
Castillo.
one memorable hit in his entire
I
career.
don't even remember it.
Actually, no. He was a roid guy too.
Was he? I
Yeah,
believe that.
I think he had one season where he just like mysteriously hit like 50-something home runs.
Is he also one of those guys who lied about his age? Like, yeah, I'm 18 when he was like 27.
Most likely, but that's a no.
So the next one, the Rocket, Roger Clemens.
Oh,
Yes.
please, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, whatever.
Listen, that guy.
It might not be this year, but like Barry Bonds, he's gonna get it. People are gonna
That guy was
forget
a Hall
what
of,
he did.
that guy was a Hall of Famer by '92.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even if he just started taking roids by like '96, like, listen, the guy was already a Hall of Famer 4 years ago.
Yeah, same thing with Barry. Like, even if, like, his last, like, 5-6 years, he was all roided up, throw those years out.
Yeah.
What about the years in Pittsburgh? He was a 40-40 guy.
Oh
I mean,
yeah, it's
So
absurd.
that alone gets him into the Hall of Fame.
It's absurd not to have him in.
I think that a big part of the reason why those guys are not in is because they're both, like, known to be douchebags. Like, every chance they get, they shit on the media. Barry Bonds is telling guys, get away from my locker. And Barry
That's-
Bonds' locker is, like, twice as luxurious as these guys' apartments. And he's like, yeah, you need to be getting away from me.
Yeah, that's the big thing with Bonds too. They try to catch him like doing all sorts of stuff, and he was never convicted of anything. It's just he's so hated because he's just an asshole to the media.
Right.
So they just tried to harp on it so bad. But
Same thing with Clemens. Just a resounding douchebag. Everybody knew it, so they just don't put him in because he's not a nice guy.
But playing skills, absolutely, they're both Hall of Famers.
100%. 100%. So next, David Eckstein.
no way.
A lot of former Red Sox on this list.
No way.
David
I don't even
Eckstein.
think he was that good.
I don't know. I mean,
He was a good. He was a good defensive player. That's it.
I was gonna say, when did he ever like put the team on his back?
never. David Eckstein's always one of those guys who was just there.
David
the team was
Eckstein
good,
could
and like,
not
oh,
lift
David
100
Eckstein.
pounds.
He's one of the guys that just rode the wave of
Yeah.
like.
He's
good
like
players.
smaller than Pedroia.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys who was like always like the team's good. Like, yeah, I'm not surprised that Eckstein's on that team. But I mean, Hall of Fame, no.
No, I
Next-
think it's embarrassing.
Next would be Jimmy Edmonds.
Yes, for me. Best
Yeah.
defensive outfielder past Griffey, which by the way is also on the list.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Let's not jump around. We'll get there.
Jesus, okay.
So
Jim-
Jimmy Edmonds, yay, nay?
I'm gonna say yeah.
I gotta say no. Jimmy Edmonds is one of those guys that needs to not be in just so the Hall of Fame means something. That being said, it's
but
probably
his
not a
defense
reason.
was so good though.
My
I
reasoning
put
is
him-
probably not in and of itself a reason to not put a guy in just because good players shouldn't be in there. But I mean, if a guy like
But if
Biggio's
you're-
in there, Jim Edmonds.
Right.
If your defense is like absurd, then it should account for a little bit more if your bat wasn't as good.
I mean, he had a pretty few good years where he was
He was
good
a
at the
decent
ditch, too,
hitter.
but
I'm saying compared to some of these other guys that we'll get to on the list,
Yeah.
he's got to be on there. 'cause
I
think
mean,
he's
of
better than half
the crop of players we have to choose from, he's clearly one of the 5 best.
Right, and that's why I'm saying yes.
So,
Okay, next.
so after Jimmy Edmonds, we're going with the former hometown kid, Nomar Garcia Parra.
No.
No, I mean
He made a hell of a case to start his career, but then it was all downhill from there. He didn't
injuries
finish out
derailed
strong,
it.
so
He
no.
wouldn't stop throwing sliders when he's throwing the first and broke his wrist 15 or 16 times. The guy's a clown. Anyway, no, resounding no on Nomar.
I do
Garcia
like
Parra.
him, but no.
Troy Gloss.
Why is this guy on the list?
That's
'Cause
a
he-
no for me.
Yeah.
Who does he have naked pictures of to be on this list?
Well, I think the way it works is all you have to do is be retired for like 5 or 6 or whatever it is years, and you automatically get on the list.
No,
regardless
that's not true because you have to have some kind of stats to go along with it. If you're
He's got the most upper deck cards not signed.
if you're player X and you've been retired for 5 years, but you have a career like 100 hits and like 10 home runs, and
There's probably a games played
possibly.
minimum.
I don't know. There has to be some kind of stipulation as to why he's on the list. I don't know what it
There's
is.
gotta
but
be, but
absolutely,
it's got to
no.
be changed. Clearly, we know that from some of the people on this list, but that's a no for me.
Yeah, so Troy Gloss resounding no. We get to everybody's favorite player, the reason why people of our generation give a shit about baseball, the reason why like 80% of Major League center fielders are playing center field, that would be Mr. Ken Griffey Jr.
That
Ken
yes.
Griffey, like,
the best swing of baseball, I think. Yes.
The prettiest swing.
oh
in
my
baseball.
god! I think every kid growing up playing little league always was trying to imitate Ken Griffey.
Also-
Still to this day, if
also
you
played
get with your buddies
Little
and like
Big
you
League.
have you're at the beach or something playing a stickball game, everyone has the little
Yeah.
Griffey waggle and you're trying to hit bombs.
Scream.
How many right-handed kids tried to learn how to hit lefty just so you could be Griffey?
Yes.
Just so you could be Griffey.
People-
I'll say I did.
People all in the on deck circle doing like the Griffey waggle, swing left, and you get up and your right hand and the pitcher's like, the hell?
I mean, not only that, but I mean, he was good defensively too. I mean,
Good.
Yeah, he's. I mean,
Griffey is the gold
good.
standard.
Right. That's what I mean. But like,
I don't know if there's ever been a better defensive outfielder than Griffey in his prime.
Griffey is the gold standard for what you want a 5-tool player to be. There is
Right.
literally nothing that this guy
Yeah,
could
oh.
not do. He was
he had
an amazing
lightning
base
speed.
runner,
Yeah.
fantastic arm, great glove. This guy had range and instincts like you read about.
Dude climbed walls
Power
like he
for
was Sonic
days.
the Hedgehog.
He is my number 1 pick. He needs to get into the Hall. of Fame. Point blank period.
I'm so depressed that he got as injured as he did towards the end of his career because he could have just shattered records.
How many years he played for?
I don't know. I think
20?
he played for like 18. But he played for
got
like
the
18,
injury
but
bug for a lot of years towards the end there. But
Injuries-
even before he
yeah.
started getting injured, he was already a Hall of Famer.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
we all
yeah.
know Griffey's
He
story.
was a
What-
Hall of Fame before like '96.
So
too.
Griffey,
The amazing
Griffey's
thing about Griffey-
resounding yes.
Oh yeah, resounding.
Griffey's like legacy is gonna be what could have been, right? Because of the injuries. But if you look at what Griffey actually is, most guys would like slap their mother in public to be anywhere half the player that Griffey turned out to be.
Absolutely.
And everyone still agrees that Griffey could have been like at least
Better.
like at least another 50% better than his output was. The guy
Which
ended up
is absurd to think of.
yeah.
But
The guy
it's
ended up
true.
with 630 home runs, and I think if you told like a Griffey fan like, do you think he could have ended up with like another 200 if he didn't lose 3-4 years to injury? I don't think anybody would disagree with you. We're talking about a guy who might have hit 800 home runs.
Yeah. Oh,
It's just insane,
he was that good.
insane.
So that's a yes.
Yeah, Griffey might be
Resounding, yeah.
might be
Who
the
got
easiest
next?
I think
easiest
he's the
yes of all
shoe-in.
time. Yeah. Next, unfortunately, after Griffey, I mean everything's downhill after Griffey, but this is a pretty big step down. We have Mark Gruzelanek.
I'm not even.
All right.
Are we
Mark
talking about
Gruzelanek?
baseball?
Yeah, I believe so. He was a pretty good first base coach.
Next.
So
No.
yeah, well, big no on Mark Gruzelanek. Mike Hampton. This is a name that might ring with some people, but
No.
I think he's only on the list
No.
because he's the pitcher that hit a few home runs and it was
Yeah.
like quirky for a while, and I think there was even a couple of times where like he was used as a pinch hitter, which is absurd to me. But
Should not be on the list.
yeah.
No.
Next, Trevor Hoffman.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Trevor Hoffman. I mean, they named the Reliever of the Year award after him. This guy and Mariano Rivera like developed the closer role. Nobody
Yeah,
cared
you
about
have- you have
closers
to put
until
him.
Hoffman and
As soon as you
Rivera.
saw him coming in, you knew it was lights out. You knew the game was over.
Hell's bells, baby, hell's bells. Jason Kendall.
Are we for real with this?
Yeah.
Is this what we're doing?
Dude,
Am
I don't
gonna-
make the list. I'm just reading the names on it.
I would not be surprised if you put my name next. I think we're just like you're just
I'm just
random people just throwing their names
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
This, no.
yeah, I'm pulling names off like the '96 like should have been All-Star list. So
Is this a celebrity game that you're pulling?
Yeah.
Jason Kendall.
No.
All right, it's a big
No.
big no on Jason Kendall. Jeff Kent, probably most famous for getting into a fight with Barry Bonds in the dugout.
Yeah.
I love Jeff Kent. I think I think they should put him in. Yeah.
He should be in the facial hair Hall of Fame.
He
That
should-
porn stash he had that one
he
year
should
was
at least-
I'm
absolutely
saying
Oh,
crucial.
no. I'm saying
It
no.
was
You're gonna
critical.
say no?
I'm gonna say no.
I think he has a case. I think
I think he has a
yes.
case, but I'm going to lean towards no.
I don't think he should be on it at least this year.
If
Maybe.
Biggio gets in, he should get in.
I mean, we can say that about everybody on
Yeah,
this
that's
list.
true.
If Biggio's in, that guy should be in. All right, moving on. Next, we have Mike Lowell.
No.
No.
Hard to say no to them. I mean, no, it's
He's a
easy
good player,
no.
but this is
He's
not
not-
the Hall of the most okayest.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and
Which they
it's-
put some of these guys
But
in.
it can be.
It can,
It can be if they
And
put
it's on
if
its
they
way.
put some of these guys in here.
I mean, Mike Lowell's got. I mean,
He's a
with us-
hometown hero.
Yeah,
He's
because of the World Series. That
Love
one
Mike
year,
Lowell. He was a
but-
great player for the Marlins. He was a great player for the Red Sox, but
a great
he
baseball
was very
player.
good. He's
Yeah.
he's not Hall of Fame.
Right.
Right.
Can we at least agree that Mike Lowell's the best throw-in player of all time in any trade?
Oh yeah,
Oh.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh.
Best throw-in player of all time. Like,
No,
I hear
you
you
can
Beckett,
take-
but you have to take Lowell.
you can
All
take-
I'm
right,
gonna give
fine.
you Beckett and your World Series MVP.
Okay,
All right,
sure.
look, done.
Done.
Thanks.
Next, the big controversy with this guy, Edgar Martinez. This is that whole like, is a DH really a baseball player? thing.
I'm always on the fence with this guy, and I always want to say no.
Put it this way: if DH isn't a baseball playing thing, then
It's
David
not a
Ortiz
DH
has
thing.
no
It's not
shot
a
in
DH
hell.
thing for me, but I think he was a little more hyped than he should have been. I guess I'll lean towards yes because he was a good hitter, but it's wishy washy for me. If you asked me 5 minutes from now, I'd probably tell you no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no.
I mean,
There's an
I-
argument yes and there's an
Yeah.
argument no, but I'm
I
gonna
think
lean
I'd,
no.
I'd probably vote yes. I can't tell you 100% sure that I'm not voting yes on Edgar just to get the precedence that the DHs get in, so when David Ortiz comes up, people won't bitch about it. But, I mean, I guess I wouldn't argue with you either way, but I'd vote yes on Edgar. So next we have Fred McGriff. The crime
The
dog.
crime dog. No, he played like 52 years. No, you don't get it just for
Just for not ever
'cause
quitting.
You played for so long that your stats rack up. No, thank you. No way.
Fred McGriff?
No.
Yeah, we're going no on Fred McGriff. Next one, Big Mac, Mark McGuire.
Yes. And and Mark McGuire's stats like aren't that appealing if you look at him besides home runs, but he's just so dominant. Like
Yeah.
you have to put him in.
Such a captivating figure that
Yeah.
like with him it's almost like the stats really aren't a big deal.
Yeah.
It's more about like what he did for the game of baseball.
Exactly. He wasn't a bad first baseman either.
I'm gonna
Wow.
say, yeah. I mean, put it this way: you got guys like Bonds and all that stuff up there. People remember
Dude.
Bonds from like the Roy thing. I mean,
Even
Maguire.
even if his home runs,
I
his
still
home run totals
remember.
weren't all that great. Dude saved the game. You
Yeah,
could get-
I
you had to put him in
remember.
there.
I remember nobody really. Baseball was falling off until this
Yeah.
Maguire Sosa race thing was
Wasn't
going
it also
on.
the '99 All-Star game at Fenway Park where this guy put on an absolute show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just
Yeah.
A
crushing
few
balls
guys
up to
have
the pike.
a
and-
few guys
Yeah.
have done it since then
Yeah.
too.
Right, but he was like the leading guy. So yes, I'm saying yes
Yeah.
based on
I say yes. He's
not
just,
an overall.
it's just a
stat.
steroid thing. Is the only
Yeah,
reason why he's
yeah.
not in already.
Right.
Mike Mussina is next. The Moose.
Good player, but I don't think he's good enough. I wouldn't put him in.
I'll say yeah.
Yeah.
I think you'd be an overly generous.
You
Mussina's
would.
typically one of those
I'm
guys
just
who needs to not be in there just so like there's a precedent for good players
Yeah.
that don't get in.
It's not the Hall of the most
Yeah.
okayest.
The next one, absurd that this guy isn't in. Mike Piazza.
Yes.
One of the best bats for a catcher. So
I think he retooled
for his
that
offense alone,
position.
I'll say yes. And plus, he was so popular at it in his heyday. I don't understand why you wouldn't put him in.
I
mean,
can't tell you how many cards I had of
Yeah.
Mike Piazza
For a long time, Mike Piazza was like the only relevant catcher in all of baseball.
for a long time. Yeah.
So
Offensively.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy to me that he's not in. Tim Raines would be the next one.
No.
No.
Yeah, I mean, again, really good player, not Hall of Famer. Next, Kurt Schilling.
Good case. Good case. Huge in playoffs. He was co-MVP with Randy Johnson the year that the Diamondbacks won.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go yeah.
Kurt Schilling?
I'd have to go yeah. I'd have to go yeah. I mean,
It's fence.
This
but
is one of those
he has-
guys that he probably gets in just based off his postseason performance, and you
That's the
really
thing.
hate to just take the whole regular season and throw it out the window. But when it comes to this guy, it's like this guy is one of those typical put my team on my back type guys, and
He
I'm not
was-
supposed to win this game, but I'm gonna
Listen,
win.
if you're on the fence, if you're a player that people are like, he's very good, but was he Hall of Fame? If you're trying to find a deciding factor, you look at the postseason and you can't not put him in.
especially World Series, not just postseason, but World Series, this guy was nails. Next, we have Gary Sheffield.
I'll say yeah. And that's a
You know, it's
generous yeah.
surprising.
That's a
I
generous
can't
yeah.
believe we're both gonna say yes on him, but I'm gonna go yes too because he was a captivating figure. He was a good player, great bat, good defensively.
That's the thing. I mean, there were times where he had some of the most clutch hits.
But
I mean,
here's another guy. Speaking of Griffey,
Right.
How many kids were copying Sheffield's thing because he had just the absurd
Yeah.
bat movement?
Yeah.
This was like the Griffey on steroids.
yeah.
It's just, I mean, Griffey's was like controlled and like there was a lot of like zen with
Sheffield-
Griffey's bat
Sheffield
wiggle.
sticks out though. You hear Sheffield, and the first thing you think of is
It's
him
the
just
bat wiggle.
all over the
Yeah,
place.
I mean, people actually tried to hit him with the ball because of the wiggle was just distracting.
And he
him
had
so
like
much.
an absurdly high leg kick.
Yeah.
It's
It's
crazy.
the whole torque and his whole torso through the ball.
But it was effective. I mean, the guy,
Unreal
the guy
bat
would
speed, by the way.
crush the ball.
For all that like wiggling and moving around, this guy got the bat through the zone like you read
Oh,
about.
yeah.
There's only one. I mean, one steroids.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know. I
yes,
can't.
that's another steroid guy.
I
too,
can't.
actually.
I can't vote yes on Sheffield. I just can't.
I'm surprised that two of us went yes, but I'll go
It was
with
a
Ne-
generous yes.
Yeah. Next we have Lee Smith.
next.
No.
Not a closer fan, huh? I mean, we're gonna give an automatic yes to Trevor Hoffman, but Lee Smith we don't even consider.
Nope.
All right, I like it. I like that. We put double standards all over the place. That's what we do around here.
Double.
We have Mr. Sammy Sosa.
If you put McGuire as a yes, you have to put Sam.
I don't agree with that.
But
I
I'm
don't agree with
saying
that.
no.
I also say no.
I have to say no. I mean, Sosa with the roids and everything. Honestly, if it wasn't for the cork bat thing, I'd look a little bit easier on Sammy Sosa. But
I feel the same.
you
way.
are so roided up out of your mind. I can even forgive that because I would be willing. Dude, you're not going to be able to
And
convince
then
me
he
that
adds
Major League.
another thing.
Listen,
to
I
it.
don't care if these players are all roided up. I think it's better for the game. But if you're all roided up and you're corking your bats, you're just a loser. Like,
Yeah.
sorry.
Dude, I'd be willing to bet Major League Baseball was complicit in the roid thing,
And
trying to get him
listen,
and Sammy
I love-
Sosa and McGuire all roided up to start knocking
Oh, yeah.
balls out of the
And
pocket.
I love
because
that
chicks
he-
take the long ball.
I love he was. They do.
They do.
I love that he
Too
was
high.
in this thing with McGuire back in the day to help generate popularity back in the sport, and for that he should be commended. But at the same time, there's too many things going in the other direction, showing how badly this guy cheated. Like, I don't care about the steroids thing, but like I just can't say yes because I think I think Mark McGuire without the steroids would have still been a good player. Sammy Sosa without the steroids, I don't think we'd even
And
be
the
having
cork
this
bat.
conversation.
And the cork bat.
Yeah.
But so Sammy Sosa, I think is a no. Still, don't cork your bat. The roids is forgivable. Don't cork your bat. Mike Sweeney. Again, like what are we doing?
No,
Why? But I guess whatever. So all right, Scotty, Mike Sweeney.
I said no.
Oh, okay.
No.
No, yeah, we got a big no on Mike Sweeney. We don't need to discuss why Mike Sweeney's not there. Alan Trammell.
Yes.
I'm saying no.
I'm saying no. Alan Trammell's another one of those guys. Good player, not a Hall of
Yeah.
Famer. Billy
Okay.
Wagner.
See, this is tough because Billy Wagner was dominant early on, but his last few years he
It
wasn't
got
anything
embarrassing.
special.
It got embarrassing. his
I'm
last
gonna
years.
say yes though because if we're gonna say, I mean,
I
he
say-
counts in his career.
I'm gonna
in
say
general.
no because it was for longevity reasons.
Yeah, I'm going to say no just because he's Billy Wagner and get out of here.
Yeah.
Next, Larry Walker.
I'm surprised he's not in already.
I-
To tell you the truth,
I like him.
I can't
I
believe
say
he's not
yes.
in already.
I say yeah. Is he the longest one on this list so far? Has he been on the ballot for the
Oh
longest
no, I
time?
got to imagine Bonds and Clemens have been on there longer than
Oh,
him.
that's right. Yeah, Clemens.
I feel
But-
like Walker's been retired longer. I think JC's right.
Maybe.
Walker.
Maybe it's just because the Clemens and Bonds have been like more like in the media and stuff like that. More people are talking about it.
Is there a way we can
Years
look
on
at that?
ballot. Let's see how long he's been there.
I want to say Larry Walker's probably the. I feel
Larry
like he
Walker
should have
has
been.
been
I mean,
on there
it-
for 5 years. He is not.
Okay.
Oh my God. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna talk about two more guys. We're gonna talk about Alan Trammell and Lee Smith again. They've both been on the ballot for over 10 years.
Oh, Trammell, yeah, I didn't even think of that.
So
How long can you stay on the ballot?
apparently forever.
I
This
thought it
is
was
this is the
15
problem. Like I don't
Oh,
even
is
know,
it
but like
15?
you can't stay on the ballot that long. And even
I
like
thought it
some
was
other
5.
guys, like McGuire's actually been on there 9.
Jesus.
So it just, I mean, guys, I think dude, this is the problem. Like you can't stay on the ballot forever. Because like, what's
there
gonna
needs to
happen
be, like,
next
a
year?
5-year rule, and then
Alan
guess what?
Trammell isn't playing baseball
No, you
anymore.
gotta- you
What's
gotta-
going to happen next year? It's not like he's all of a sudden going to have a better average or more home runs. Like, if his accomplishments aren't good enough to get in right now, then he's not good
They
enough.
do it because of they're afraid of the amount of good players that won't get in if there's like a whole heap of guys that
The
should be able
problem
to
is,
get
I
in.
think,
Right, but this is
I
the
think
whole-
14 years is a good is you've had enough time.
But if
This
you-
is the Hall of Fame. This isn't like,
Right.
oh, you got in because there was nobody better to vote for. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. You shouldn't be letting guys in because of a shitty crop, just like guys shouldn't be held out because of a big one.
Right. So it's the cream of the crop. I mean,
Right, but if you're not getting the most,
I think 5 years is good enough. If you don't make it in
I would
5
disagree,
years,
because if
you're off the ballot.
by that argument, Bonds wouldn't make it in, and Clemens wouldn't make it in.
They're not making
This-
it in
this is
because
one of the
nobody
reasons-
wants to vote for Royds.
This is one of the reasons why you need to have it a little bit longer than that. I think 10 years is fine. I think Major League Baseball is 15 years. I'm pretty sure.
That sounds right.
15
sounds
years is
right. And then
too
you're gonna
long.
get to the Veterans Committee.
Yeah.
The Veterans Committee's a rip on. That's what most of these guys get in. But anyway, so
Is
Larry
that-
Walker's been on there 5 years, by far not the longest. Trammell's been on there 14. Lee Smith's been on there 13.
Is that the entire list?
No, there's one more.
Who we got?
But nobody cares. It's Randy Wynn.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
who's
so,
Randy Wynn?
Yeah,
Actually,
exactly.
I'm gonna make a shirt that says "Who's Randy Wynn."
Yeah. So nobody cares about Randy Wynn. Randy Wynn's an absolute no.
All right. Well, I mean,
All right, let's get back to the list.
there's some definites. There's some definites there. There's some guys who shouldn't even be on the list. It should be interesting to see guys like Schilling whether or not they actually make it in.
Here's the problem with the way the stupid Hall of Fame voting works. There are guys, there are still like old, bigoted, like scumbag voters that just won't vote for a guy because Babe Ruth didn't get 100% of the vote. So they purposely leave guys off that they definitely think are Hall of Famers because they don't want to be like, oh, this guy got 100%, but the Babe never did. Like,
Yeah, I think that's the stupidest thing you can possibly do. Like, we're not putting anyone in 100% on the first ballot. If Griffey, like, listen,
Griffey should be 100%. Hands down.
even with the injuries, I don't know anyone who's like, Griffey's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. So if you, as one of these voters, knowing that no one's going to be like, no, this guy isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, I can't understand why he wouldn't have 100% of the vote. It's absurd. If anyone who does not vote for him should just get their voting rights taken
100%.
away.
Yeah.
Like, you obviously don't have a clear head about these things. You are not able to look at these things objectively. It's nuts.
All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for baseball. Quick jump onto MMA real quick. Not going to touch on this very long.
The fight didn't last very long.
Yeah, the
We're
fight
going
didn't
to
last
touch
long.
it
Was
as long as Rousey lasted.
Ronda Rousey took on Holly Holm, and she just,
Got her face up.
oh my god, she just,
She just kept her distance,
It
kept
was-
her on the outside, and then when it was thing, she gave her some sweet chin music, and out went.
it wasn't even a fight. It wasn't even a fight. Like, Rousey going into the fight, I thought would kick her ass, but apparently, like, she can't fight people that,
She's not a striker. That's what everyone.
she
was
can't
saying.
fight boxers.
Right.
She came out. This chick Holm just came at her boxing, like she didn't know how to defend it. She just got her ass whooped. It was a short fight. I don't think we need to say much about it.
Yeah,
It was embarrassing.
Yeah, 40 seconds into the second round, the fight was over. From what
Yeah.
was supposed to be the most dominant individual fighter on the planet in Ronda
It's too
Rousey,
bad.
and
It's
she
too
got her
bad
face smashed in.
because she was.
Mayweather's probably laughing his ass off somewhere.
Yeah. You know she just trained down the street, right? She's gonna come find you, dude.
It's fine. It's fine. We're good. We'll get it on
She
camera.
can kick my ass. So.
Get it on camera. It'll be up on the website.
Yeah, I
Active now.
think that's all we have to say about that. The only thing that I would just touch upon it is, I love that J.J. Watt tweeted his shirt. He had that shirt saying how Ronda Rousey was going to win the fight, and then she gets her ass kicked, and he just looks like a tool bag
Good.
on Twitter. I love it.
JJ
But
Watt's a clown.
last week we introduced the new segment Scotty Doesn't Know, and I believe we're doing it again this week.
We are absolutely doing it
Okay.
again this week. I've been sitting
I'm
on
ready.
this one for a while. So the topic for this week's Scotty Doesn't Know is we're going to go with the sport known the world over. It is called chook ball.
Chook ball.
Chook ball.
Chook ball.
Like the word juke with a CH at the front.
CH.
I think it's TCH.
Chook? CH.
That's how you spell it, but I'm just phonetically, so people can
Okay.
figure it out.
CHUK.
Chook ball.
Yes,
Chook
chook
ball.
ball. Chook ball.
Okay.
Known the world over.
I'm actually quite familiar with this.
Are you?
Yeah,
It's surprising to find out that you're
I
quite
actually
familiar
have a
with
story
chook ball.
about this. Like when I was younger, me and my family, we went on a trip down to Puerto Rico, and what happened was our hotel got flooded, and we had to find a different place to stay while we were down there.
Did you?
Yes. So what happened
Is that
was
where you got that terrible tattoo?
some local villagers came by and were nice enough to let us stay in their mud huts. And while we were staying there, some local kids were really into cricket for some reason. So I got to observe these kids around the same age, and we were all playing cricket. I got to know the rules. So one day, I just told them, "Hey, can I jump in? Can I play? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. They're good kids. We played for about a half hour, and then all the parents bring them in, right? And I'm like, what's going on? Like, oh, the local chook ball match is on our one community TV. So we went into this little mud hut, which was quaint, by the way, nice, all straw roofs and such. And so I'm like, what is this chook ball thing? And like, oh, these kids are like, you gotta see this. They take this chupacabra egg and they roll it down like it's bowling pins. And what you have to do is you have to take these tennis racket type substances, and you have to be the first one to smash the chupacabra egg. The first one to catch the chupacabra that runs out of the egg is the winner. And these, oh my god, the people that do the sport are just they're just so absurdly athletically talented. Like I was enthralled with this. It was the best sporting event I've ever saw in my life. The thing why it was such a big deal was the chupacabra is actually so rare. It's like only the second match they've ever seen in their lifetime, and I think there's been 2 matches since, and that was about 15 years ago. But I absolutely love chook ball, and God bless the chupacabras.
Okay. So, of what you just said, approximately 0% of that was accurate.
What?
Yeah, so it turns out that whatever you were watching wasn't chook ball.
Oh, I must have been thinking of something different.
Would you be interested in watching a little introductional video on how chook ball is played?
Please.
From a very Borat-sounding gentleman.
Oh my god.
For the listeners, why don't you tell them what it is while I watch this video real quick.
We don't even know.
I'm not really sure what chook ball is.
You're not.
Why don't you talk us through it?
I'm seeing on this video, it looks like some kind of bounce back net like you'd have in baseball to throw it back to yourself.
What's up, you guys? Here is George, and today I will introduce you chook ball.
We have some guy who's introduced me to chook ball.
Doesn't he sound like Borat?
It looks like it's just a bounce back net and he's just running to the side of it.
That's the sound it makes.
Chook ball, it's an onomatopoeic word.
It's an auto-maka-paka word, whatever that is. I don't know what country that's from, but he's wearing an Italian jersey, so.
The ball when it bounces.
He looks like he's taking one of these little, like, soccer balls that you get for your 6-year-old. So basically, he's throwing a small soccer ball off a bounce back net, and he's calling it chook ball. And it looks like he's primarily playing with himself here, which is a little
Disturbing.
offsetting.
Something to mark the forbidden zone that is a semicircular.
Okay, so we have a ball, a frame, and a forbidden zone.
Of 6 meters.
This guy's getting really weird on
It's
me.
Lambada ball.
And he wants you to play with a friend, and he puts a smiley face on there. I don't know when he's actually going to get to play this thing, but apparently there are 2 teams on 7 players each.
It is played on basketball court with.
I would like to see if he actually gets to playing this thing instead of talking in such a bad accent.
His best Borat impersonation.
We couldn't pull up an actual match. It's just one guy talking.
Yeah, it's just a guy talking. You just need to know the basic rules before you get into watching.
All right, so basically, you don't ever want to watch chook ball. I think it's just some guy who invented his own game to play in his backyard to keep his dog busy or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, my version of chook ball, the actual chook ball, the stuff that I encountered as a child, is much more interesting. And if you haven't been down to Puerto Rico, find someone with a mud hut, go into their community television room, okay, and watch this stuff, because once every 7-8 years or so, someone finds one of these chupacabras, you get the egg, and it's just ballistic. Everyone goes bananas. There's like this huge celebration.
I think what you're talking about might be an LSD flashback. You might be on drugs.
I mean, I did wake up in like a little gully somewhere, but I mean,
Yeah.
I thought the village was just
Chupacabras.
A lot of crazy nonsense what was going on. But as far as I can tell, the game is actually sort of like reverse dodgeball. Like they fire it off this net, and the object is you need to catch it before it hits the ground. If it hits the ground, you score a point.
Oh, see, that makes a lot more sense. What that guy was talking about, I couldn't understand because the accent was.
And
That's the commissioner of chook ball.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
what he was talking
him and his imaginary friend
Yeah.
are the champions.
Yeah.
Well, you can have up to 5 people if you play on
Chook
beach.
ball.
The
Yeah,
name
yeah.
chook ball supposedly comes from the sound the ball makes hitting the net. It's supposed to be a chook sound.
That's an absolutely absurd sport, by the way. The sport that I mentioned was actually much more entertaining.
Probably would be, to be honest with you.
It was.
But yeah, I think that was a pretty good second run at Scotty Doesn't Know.
So this is going to bring us to wrap it up. We're going to go down our NFL Weekly Pick'em. We're picking it for next week. seeing as this will be posted later on this Sunday. So we're going to, this is the week 11 picks.
Yes.
We're just going to go straight pick them because the lines are...
The lines, they changed so much. It's way too early.
It's
to go
too
on
early
lines.
to pick them by line. So we're going to go straight pick them. We'll go JC, we'll go Woogie, and then myself.
Alright, so first game is the Thursday game. We have Tennessee at Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
It's a big game in that division, as embarrassing as it is to say. I'm taking Jacksonville.
I'm taking Jacksonville too because I just want to see them. I want to see them run the. I want to see them in the playoffs, basically.
Game 2, that would be Washington at Carolina.
Carolina.
Yeah, Carolina. I'm
Easy
picking Carolina
Carolina. Easy.
until they lose. Game 3 would be Oakland at Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, you're wearing your Detroit jersey. I'm going to Oakland now. I'm going Oakland.
I'm going Oakland. Detroit's a mess.
Even in a Barry Sanders jersey, I got to take Oakland there.
Detroit's a mess. They refuse to throw the ball to Calvin Johnson.
Who is he playing? 'Cause I know he was
I
injured.
already was banged up, but he's going to play today. I don't know. But game 4 would be Indy at Atlanta.
Indy.
Really?
I'm going there riding a big win.
I got to take Atlanta. No Andrew Luck. I'm not a Hassel backup fan.
I got to take Atlanta as well. I'd love to take Indy.
I love
but
Atlanta.
Without luck, it switches for me. With luck, I'd take Indy, but no.
Next, we have Miami at Dallas.
Dallas.
Is Tony Romo ever going to play again?
No.
Said week 11 he's available to come back, so he could be his first game back this next week.
All right, since we're not into reserve and judgment, I'm just going to have to assume that he's going to play. If he plays, it's going to be his first game back. I'll take Miami.
I'll take Dallas if that's the case then.
Nice.
If Romo's back, I don't see how they don't win that game.
I mean, it's his first game back in forever.
But he
Sorry,
also
been
is-
practicing.
Plus,
He also
Romo's a
is
shit
Tony
bum.
Romo.
Yeah, there is the Tony Romo problem. All right, next we got St. Louis at Baltimore.
I'll go St. Louis.
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Love
yeah.
that defense.
Yeah, Baltimore's a joke. Then we got the Jets at Houston.
Jets.
I'm sticking with Ryan Fitzmagic. I'll take the Jets.
I'm going to go Houston.
Of course you are.
As bad as they are.
This is actually, surprisingly enough, nobody would have thought so at the beginning of the season, but we have Green Bay at Minnesota. Monster game.
Yeah, that's a big game. I'm going Green Bay. It's gonna be a good game though.
I'm going to take Green Bay as well. I
I
don't
take
believe
Green
in
Bay,
Teddy
and I don't think
Bridgewater.
it's going to be all that close, to tell you the truth.
Fair enough. You're a huge Green Bay fan. Like the biggest Green... You're more of
Yeah.
a Green Bay fan than you are a Pats fan.
I
It's
love,
pretty
I,
incredible.
love Green Bay.
All right. Next we have Tampa at Philly.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah. It's the Who Cares Bowl.
I'm gonna go Philly.
Yeah, I'm taking Philly.
Ugh, I hate to keep agreeing with you guys, but yeah, me too.
Yeah. Philly's... I don't like Philly, but I hate Tampa.
Tampa is what Woogie would describe as a dumpster fire.
Yeah, they're a dumpster fire. I'm sorry, Dempster. Denver at Chicago.
I'm gonna start with you, Scotty. Let's give us that
Yeah.
Denver insight.
Love me some Denver there.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Do you? So it's got to take like the Jay Cutler-led Bears to get you to actually think Denver's going to win. So yeah, Denver.
I'm going Denver.
Denver. Yeah, we're all going Denver. Cincy at Arizona. Tough game.
You want me to go? We reversing this now?
Reversing it.
No, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Arizona.
Taking Arizona too. I don't believe in Cincinnati. They're going to start
That
failing
is a
eventually.
sweep.
Yeah.
3 Arizonas.
Yeah.
All right.
Arizona's they're a better team.
I think they're gonna be the team that knocks them.
Hopefully Cincinnati's coach becomes a problem before Carson Palmer's knee falls apart. But one of those two things is going to happen, or both. But whatever, I'll take Arizona. San Francisco at Seattle.
Don't care. What are you saying on this?
Seattle.
Seattle.
Seattle?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You were
I
just
don't
telling
even
us
care
about
if
San
San
Francisco.
Francisco's playing.
No, yeah. I mean, I wish that was a better matchup, a better game. But I mean, I think Seattle.
Well, I mean, you can say that about this entire card this week.
I
I
think-
wish
Yeah,
every
I-
game was better.
I think Seattle is.
I think Seattle is going to win. It's
Seattle
hard
could
to-
probably take 3 knees and punt the entire first half and still win this game.
Yeah,
The 49ers are awful.
yeah.
I think Seattle's going to shore up some stuff, and they're
49ers
going
is
to
probably
start coming on towards the
the
end of the
number
season.
one team that just had a complete opposite end of spectrums. They were pretty good one year, and then they just fell.
They were in the Super Bowl,
into
what,
the
3 years
San
ago?
Fran's
I think?
defense,
and
even
fell
with
into the dumpster.
even with all the guys retiring, is still half decent. It's their offense that's killed them.
Next, Kansas City at San Diego.
It's another tough one.
Somebody want to
Division
take this
matchup.
one?
I'm gonna go. I'll go San Diego. I'm gonna go San Diego. It's gonna be maybe like a field goal between them, but
Not bad. The early line is 2.5, so you're in the neighborhood. I'm going to take Kansas City.
Who's home?
San Diego. The Chargers.
I'll take the Chargers.
I'm going with Kansas City because I'm mad at Danny Woodhead. I was pumping that guy's tires real bad, and the very next play he fumbled, so I'm done with Danny Woodhead.
That's
But
a
I'll
good reason.
I'll take
Good
Kansas City.
Good reason to pick
And
Kansas
then the Monday night game, game's gonna go to the woodshed. It's Buffalo at New England.
City. Oh, God.
Yeah,
You know what? This is going to be closer than people think, too, because
of course it is.
it's Rex Ryan, it's a division. What do you think, JC?
I'm going New England,
Yeah.
but
We know Rex Ryan circles the Patriots.
Yeah.
He said that.
He says that every
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
That's all he wants to talk about.
Yeah,
is
what about this Week 11 matchup? Guys, it's Week 4. Maybe we should worry about the
New
team we're
England?
playing.
yeah, New England.
New England.
New England, I'll go New England as well. I think it's going to be a little close, but the
I
Patriots
think-
shouldn't have too much
Yeah, I
trouble.
think for some reason Tom Brady is just
Patriots
on
roll.
fire. Yeah.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us for this week on Garbage Time Sports. We'll see you next week.
Deuces.
Lou?